Hi everybody, welcome back to PUBG, and what you can see in the background is gameplay from my Xbox Series S of a solo chicken dinner win. So this video is all about how you could come back to, if you're a lapsed player, or maybe if you're a new player, come into PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds and win solo chicken dinner victories as a casual player, and can I even slip this in as well, maybe as a more mature player who just doesn't have those thumbstick skills that the younger players have, so you can taste that sweet flavour of a chicken dinner win. Okay, so PUBG for me, yeah, it's one of the greatest games of all time. If you maybe list my top 5 games, PUBG would be up there. I think it's by far the best battle royale. Obviously, it's one of the OG battle royales as well. It wasn't quite the first, but it was there. And it's the sort of game that I keep coming back to. It came out in 2017. And played an awful lot of it right back there when it came out on Xbox. I think late 17, and then into 2018. A lot of squad PUBG as well. With some of my greatest gaming memories are with PUBG. However, I play a lot of solo PUBG. Sorry, well, that's not true. I don't play a lot of solo PUBG. I play a lot of solo video games, mainly because of the fact, commitments for work and making videos for the channel, all that sort of stuff. I can't normally commit that much time to a team experience, so it's whenever I can jump in. And although other games have kind of usurped the number 1 position on the channel with things like, DayZ especially, I make an awful lot of content for that. If there's a game that I want to keep playing and stay in touch with, it is PUBG. But unfortunately, what that means is if you don't play a game like PUBG regularly, you lose your skills on it, basically. And it then becomes less enjoyable to play when you come back to it, because you get yourself into a gunfight and you'll make a silly mistake, or you'll make a silly mistake playing the game and die outside of a gunfight, and you think, well, that was a waste of 20 minutes. So what I did was, a few weeks ago, I committed to try and play at least 1 game of PUBG every evening solo, and maybe up to 3, and just play them. You'll get where you get, and then stop after 3, and then at least you've put those in. And that's probably, 3 long games is probably just over an hour, isn't it, in PUBG? If you have one where you die fairly early, and 2 that last quite long. And that obviously led me back into getting a chicken dinner again. So I thought, well, I've done a lot of PUBG videos, but let's do another one from this perspective of someone who stopped playing PUBG for a long time, played it casually, so occasionally, came back to play it a little bit more often, but was very, very rusty. So I really wanted to share the strategies and tactics that I use to get me into a situation where it's possible for someone like me, who doesn't have that much skill in terms of gunfighting skill, to get myself into a position where I can win. And there's 2 strats we're going to talk about, really. There's the original D23E strat, and the newer D23C strat, but they're all based around probability. That's the most important thing. So if we look at my stats up until the win for this season, this is kind of the core of, if you want to win solo chicken dinners, this is what you're kind of building on or building towards. And that is the idea that if you play enough games with the right strategies, the luck that you get in PUBG, so the randomness of PUBG, eventually will be in your favour, and you will be in a situation where you can't help it but win, really. So what that means is you'll be in a situation where you get to the last 2, and the person you've got to kill is probably facing in the wrong direction, and you can just kill them with your machine gun. So you need very, very little skill at all. And the core to this is to keep playing, obviously, lots of games. So you can see here that in Season 23, it's taken me 29 matches to get 1 win. However, and this is very important, of those 29 matches, I got in the top 10 14 times. Now, that's quite low. You want to aim to try and get into the top 10 in every single match, and then shape your tactics and strategies around that goal. and the fact that every single game you want to be in the top 10, because if in every single game you're in you get into the top 10, eventually luck will be on your side and the circle will come to you, the enemies will all kill each other, and you'll get a chicken dinner. You know, it's a probability, it's a statistical guarantor, to be honest. You know, as long as you're not completely clueless, you will get that win. It might take you 60 matches, might take you 160, but eventually you will get there. What you need to do is, if you want to get into the top 10, you need to remember that, you know, first thing is, in order to get to the top 10, you need to survive to the top 10. So the core of this is that when you jump from the plane, when you're looking where to go, you want to look to jump a long way away from the plane if you can. You'll want to jump along a road on the larger maps so that you can pick up a vehicle to drive further away so that you can loot in peace. Now, with the way that the loot table is in PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds at the moment, it's very easy to get kitted up, you know, in the first phase. You can probably get the weapon you want. You'll get the primary and the secondary. You can get enough first aid. You can get level 2 vests, level 2 helmets, level 2 bags. You might not get things like suppressors for both weapons, but you'll get an awful lot. You'll get most of the things you need. So that means you can loot in safety. And after that initial loot, you don't really need to loot again. And you want to think about, you know, having, you know, 150 rounds of ammunition. You probably want like an assault rifle and a DMR, or a submachine gun and a DMR, or if you prefer it, one of those two with a bolt action rifle for those one-shot kills. You want to try and have at least a couple of smokes and a couple of grenades. They come in very useful. Probably want 3 first aid kits, 5 bandages, 3 boosts of both flavours, painkillers and energy drinks. And what else might you want? That would probably, a sidearm, a pistol is pretty good to have, you know, with a suppressor on, or just a pistol as a weapon as last resort if you completely miss someone. And then you're pretty much good to go, because I guarantee using these methods you'll never run out of ammunition at all. You'll always have enough ammunition. So after that first phase and the circle pops, this is where either D23E or D23C comes into it. Now, D23E, which is what I used to use, stands for drive to the third circle in your car and then play the edge. So as the circles come in, you have 1, 2, and then the third circle. And when the third circle kind of pops, at that point you make a decision, right, I'm going to leave the car and I'm going to carry on foot. Doesn't work well on say somewhere like Miramar, because it's sometimes a good idea to keep hold of the vehicle because it's so open. But on other maps where there's more cover, you then work on foot. And the idea with that is, if you're on foot, you're less likely to be heard. And if the circle comes to you, that can be good. And you can have quite a stealthy way into the final circles. Now, because players are now much, much better at PUBG than they used to be, that doesn't always work, because people can kill you from a long way away in a way that they didn't used to be able to a couple of years ago. So this is where D23C comes into it. Now with D23C, it stands for drive to the third circle. So you have, you know, first circle, second circle, third circle. And at the third circle, when the next one's about to pop, you stay in your car, but you drive to the centre, you drive to a compound, a building near the centre. And the idea with this is that it's a roll of the dice that the circles, as the subsequent circles that they come in, you're going to be in all of them. And it's going to give you a good opportunity to basically camp for those remaining circles, and then you'll be able to come out of hiding for the last circles and then play the edge basically and move in to kill. And the reason for this, again, is because players are much better at killing people at mid to long range, and to be out in the open on almost any of the maps can be a death sentence, and you're much safer camping in a building, waiting for the circles to come in, and by being one near the centre, you're giving yourself a chance of being in lots of those subsequent circles rather than being on the edge and then working your way in. And then, you know, you basically, you don't shoot at anybody unless you really have to, and you know it's going to be a confirmed kill, because there's no point, because remember, PUBG it's a survival game. It's the person who gets to the end. It's not the person who kills the most people. And as soon as you fire your gun, you're going to be giving your position away. So you fire your gun, that guy who's in the hut next to you knows where you are. If you do have to move with the circles, move as late as you can. That's why the backpack with the special anti-gas shielding, whatever it has on it, is really, really useful. It's one of the best things you can have in the game, because it means you can come in the blue where you have to. It means that if you think someone's coming behind you, you can hang around in the blue without taking damage and kill them, and kind of come in and surf in that blue very, very, very late. It also means that when you come out of the blue, you come out of it with full health. So if you get into a gunfight, you haven't got that disadvantage of being at very, very low health. And from that point on, when you're finally there, then in the final circles, you got yourself to the top 10. You should just breathe a sigh of relief first when you get to the top 10 and say, right, I've done it. I'm here. I'm in the top 10. It's really a roll of the dice now, because it depends on where the circles go and what the other enemies are doing. Now, if you're very tactically minded, and you've played a lot of PUBG, at this point you can use that skill to go, right, okay, well, I'm going to move early, I'm going to move to these power positions around the map. If you're not, and you're average to lower skill, you just go in slowly with the circles and work the edge of the circle, keeping your head down, keeping undercover. Make sure you look left and right. Advanced PUBG players will scoot around the outside of the circle looking for campers. They will spiral in, if you like. So don't make the mistake of being fixated for looking straight into the circle. Look to the sides. Listen for where everybody is. If two players are fighting each other, let them fight each other and just listen for the last shot, and then so you know where the survivor is, and then you know where they are, and keep them in your head. And keep an eye on that circle. Keep putting a marker in the centre of the circle as well. And then just be aware when those final circles are popping. Don't push unless you really have to, because what can often happen is a bad position can turn into a good position, and vice versa with a pop of the circle, because of where the blue is going to come and forcing people to have to move. And then you see what happens. And honestly, if you play enough games and you get yourself into the top 10, with a 50% ratio, if every other game you can get yourself into the top 10, honestly, you'll get to a situation where a chicken dinner will just come to you, in the same way that you have all those frustrating games where that chicken dinner is seemingly snatched away from you because the game's randomness, doesn't do you any favours, because a circle makes you go across an open ground, or because a player was camping in a bush next to you. All these different things, all these things that take those victories away, one of those will give you that victory, and all it takes is just to keep playing and keep getting to those top 10s. What I'll do is I'll put a more in-depth video about the probability of winning PUBG as a solo if you can get yourself into a top 10 down below. And if I remember rightly, what I worked out a couple of years ago was that if you can get yourself into the top 10, I think it's 6 times. I think from the 7th time onwards, you've got a 50% of winning the next game to get a chicken dinner. That's the way the probability can work if everything is random. And obviously, as you get better at PUBG, everything isn't random, because you can make better decisions than the other players in that top 10. But anyway, I'll leave you with the last few seconds of this chicken dinner. Nothing special, but it's always good to achieve. And as I say, PUBG, one of the greatest games of all time. Looking forward to playing more of it, and looking forward to this game going on and on and on. But what do you think? Put your questions and comments down below, and I will, of course, see you again soon.